The term auto-instantiation of an algorithm means that what happens when the algorithm is executed as a computer simulation is already real, regardless of whether anyone actually executes it or not. Whether they never ever executed it, it's still real what happens in it if it was executed. The same thing will always occur regardless of how many times the actual set of sequential instructions is executed on a computing device. If you execute something like 1,000,000 billion times, it starts obscuring the meaning of each individual time you execute it. And it actually really is represented more by the set of instructions than by what is actually happens when it's executed. That's how you categorize it. This concept is not really a stretch to our currently accepted scientific consensus of how the universe got kicked off in the first place. The currently accepted theory is based upon the Heisenberg uncertainty principle as it relates to the existence of the universe or not. They say that the uncertainty of matter or energy existing makes it certain to exist, and that's what's kicked off the universe. That's what they're saying right now, okay? Now, how is that any different from claiming that a sequential set of computer instructions automatically instantiates the virtuality that it encompasses? You know, how does it make it, why is it any different? I mean, if you got, let's say, I always use this as an example. Let's say you got a simple formula, let's say y equals x squared for x equals 1 to 100 as whole integer units. You know what that looks like? Like, 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, right? It makes the shape of a parabola like this, right? And you know what that shape looks like. And I asked some questions. I asked, how long has that shape existed for? How long has that formula existed for? Did anybody have to actually write that formula for that shape to exist? That shape has existed forever because that formula has naturally occurs, And that's called a naturally occurring algorithm, and they existed forever. They always have, they've always been here, just like the integers, like the set of whole numbers. They've always existed. You can list them out. There's like 1, 2, 3. People have tried to categorize how they work. Like for example, you've heard of Wolfram, right? He has got a way of categorizing these. He calls it computational reduction, and there's other ways of doing it as well. It's just it's just a list of ways that you can relate things to one another. Okay, that's called an algorithm. And like I say, there's a list of them, and the list has existed forever. There's just a set of mathematical relationships that have existed forever. Okay, and nobody ever had to write them. That's the point. I'm saying this explanation is even more feasible than what they're saying about Heisenberg starting the mathematical universe, which is actually we're both talking about pretty much the same thing here, right? Except they're talking about continuous math. We're talking about a space-time continuum. I'm talking about digital math. I'm talking about digitization. And actually, it's just processing, really. Simple processing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you might want to do some research. Look up Conway's Game of Life. Just do a Google search or something like that, and just do a little research on that, maybe for half an hour, and see what he was actually trying to do. He's got these simple things called automatons. Like they're just blocks that like grow on top of blocks and stuff like that, and they can actually make the universe. I don't know if you've ever seen these simulations they've got of molecular, like the way DNA splits and stuff like that. They actually got simulations of it, and the simulations that they've got, they're actually automatons, man. That's how they actually got them simulated. But the point is that I'm explaining a term that I sort of came up with called auto-instantiation of an algorithm. And I'm saying that these algorithms, what happens in them is if you simulate it on a computer, what happens inside the simulation That stuff is already real. Just like the parabola, the shape of a parabola. You didn't have to actually compute the parabola out for that shape to already exist. And even though it's a real simple example, I'm saying the universe is actually the same kind of a program, same kind of algorithm. It's very, very simple algorithm, and it instantiates our own universe. It's a real simple thing, just the way John Conway's Game of Life can make these phenomenally complex structures based on these dirt simple algorithms, right? And that's what the universe actually is. But what the point I'm trying to make is that nobody actually had to write them, that they just exist naturally, and they actually instantiate. They actually it's as if somebody actually did run them. But nobody actually has to run them, okay? And that's the point. It's a very important point I'm making here. It's important because this explains how the universe came about without requiring aliens or some species on some other plane of existence to program it and execute it. Like I say, on some other plane of existence. It would explain where the universe comes from in the first place. It has always existed because the algorithm that instantiates it has always existed. It just is. It just is. The computer program for the universe is really simple. It's like a loop. It says do forever, like repeat forever, and then each time it repeats, it makes a call to this algorithm that actually shuffles stuff around. Okay, and then it comes back, and then it goes to the next call to it, and just keeps doing that forever. Okay. And that makes it each time it makes this call, it's almost like a transaction, it just becomes a sequence of transactions. Each time it makes this call though, because only when the call is complete, that's when things actually move. Okay, it's just changing some numbers and some list of numbers, and that moves stuff around, right? That's all it is. But to the characters that exist within the virtuality that it creates, like the people that actually live inside the virtuality, like you and me, we only see time move. We only see time tick off when things move. Okay, so it doesn't matter how long the computer program takes to actually complete this call to subroutine. Okay, doesn't mean it can take like forever, almost forever. As long as it completes and comes back, that's all we see. That's one tick of time. In other words, time is a sequence. It's not a continuous thing. It's sequential. It doesn't matter how long it takes to actually compute each step of the way. We only see the steps, the ticks. So it's composed of a sequence of transactions. Each one is one tick of universe time. And I actually believe that these are what Planck time units actually encompass. The universe is therefore a sequence of individual moments in time. Individual moments in time, and that makes it eternal. I don't know if you can get the little jump I made there. But because it's just a program, like I said, doesn't matter if you execute this program a billion trillion times or what. The meaning becomes obscure because the identical things happens each time it's let's say instantiated if you did it, but you don't have to instantiate it at all. Nobody ever has to actually run this thing in a simulation. It just is, and what happens within it is real. That's where our thoughts come from, believe it or not, as scary as that is. If you can get past what I just said there, it explains where we came from right there. That's existence. That's what reality is. Okay? Now I made a little statement there. It seemed like it was not related to what I was talking about. I said this makes it eternal. It's because it's like what this program does, this algorithm, it's 100% deterministic because it's programmatic. It has to be 100% deterministic, okay? So everything that happens with it is locked in there forever. And because it's just a sequence of moments in time, that makes our lives, you and me, it makes us eternal. We're never ever gonna die. You and me are always gonna be who we are forever. Get used to your life, pal. You're gonna live it forever. I keep telling my cousin that every time he comes over and says, the next life will be better. No, he keeps doing that. He's trying to tell me something. You will cry for help, I don't know, but that's what I keep telling him. I keep saying back to him, I said, when you die, it doesn't matter. Your life is forever. Because this program has existed forever. Nobody ever had to execute or run it instantiated on a computer. It just is, and that's where we are. We're locked into our lives forever. The thing that makes it eternal is that they're individual moments. Individual moments. I mean, we see a sequence of them within our thoughts, but it's just like the pages in a book that has been written forever. It's a good analogy, okay? So I am suggesting that we are all locked into our lives forever. We never really die. We have about 25,000 days on Earth. Each day is composed of 86,400 seconds. Each second is about 5.09 times 10 to the 44th Planck time units. There's a lot of them. And each of these are the moments in time that exist forever as individual moments of reality. So again, we're reading here, I said, so get used to your life. You will live it forever, okay? So what happens when you die? Nothing. Your brain will stop and that'll be it, but it doesn't matter because every moment of your life is forever. Every moment is eternal. Every moment. The good and the bad, it's all forever. Even that time you had your fucking tooth pulled at the dentist, man. No, I don't know if I mentioned or not, because it's algorithmic, it has to be deterministic because randomization is impossible to program. All these naturally occurring algorithms I keep talking about, everything that happens within them is 100% deterministic, 100%. And I know that goes against the theories they've got right now, but they're talking about some kind of like as if there's some kind of a canvas, some kind of a cosmic background that things keep popping up and going away in, and that ain't the way programming works, man. And unless there's some external, like some kind of a canvas that's out there that the program is interacting with, then it doesn't. What the program does is deterministic. There is no canvas. If it's naturally occurring algorithm, there's no canvas. There's nothing to work it against. There's no external events to influence this program's progress or its execution. It's locked into place. And if you ever saw these Conway Game of Life, these automatons where they expand and shit like that, you could run the same program a billion times. It does the same thing. It works when you run a program. It works in what's called generations. Like it's like generation 1, generation 2, and it builds these blocks upon blocks. But it doesn't matter how many generations. A gazillion generations, the age of the universe is still deterministic. And it doesn't matter how many times you execute this thing, it's always going to be in the same state at the same generation every time. Now, obviously, there's, the question of free will comes into play here, right? And my response to that is, what's the difference, man? You still know the future, so it's just as much fun. And I'm continuing what I've written here. I said it sounds negative at this point because it is deterministic, and really you can try to struggle and piss and moan, but still you're going to be what you are always predetermined. We're determined to be. That's just the way it is. You will be what you were meant to be. And I say it sounds negative. However, there is great hope for the future. We can just accept that the universe is informational, and that makes the most awesome things possible. It actually provides a solid pathway to the most important thing that we need in the civilization of mankind ever, something I'm calling non-religious accountability. And the great news is we don't have to wait for the future to start following the golden rule right here and now. So if you know what I'm talking about, I would ask you to just watch this other video which is called The Truth Machine Explained in 15 Minutes. Now, once you've heard what I just said here, it's kind of like the technical basis for what that other video has to say. And I'm not a spiritual guy. I'm not a weirdo. Everything I'm saying is strictly bits and bytes. I'm a real analytical kind of guy, okay? It's nothing I say is spiritual. In fact, it's just the opposite. It's just all basic bits and bytes, and I think explains reality better than anybody can explain it that I've ever heard yet. Okay, in my humble opinion. And like I say, because of the basis I just provided, it gives us great hope for the future. Great hope. We can actually build a machine that goes ahead and simulates the universe itself, because it is deterministic. Everything that happens in the universe is 100% deterministic. So there's a truth. And all you have to do is somehow find a way to zero in on a time and a place. Time meaning it's a certain number of ticks since the start of the universe, which is actually since the start that the program is instantiated itself upon. If it is instantiated, but it doesn't have to actually instantiate. If you're going to simulate it, you have to instantiate it. So, and then how many ticks and then where in the 3D matrix that gets instantiated when the thing executes, where you're at, and that's a time and a place. And if you can zero in on that, you can actually see what happened in the past. So we can actually build a machine that replays the universe, or is able to zero in on different times and places in the truth of the universe, and we can see what happened at a certain time and place in the past. I'm calling that the truth machine. If we had that machine, you wouldn't believe what that's going to do to society. And it's going to change society totally. Because if you have that in a court of law, if you had a truth machine in the court of law, then if anybody wants to wage a complaint against somebody else, they just go to the court and they say, hey, they say the time and place of the accusation, and the judge can go ahead and replay the universe and zero on that time and place and the truth of the universe and see what really happened and pass judgment upon it, and nobody can argue with it because it's the truth, part of the truth of the universe. If we had that machine right now, what would that do to society? What would that do to the crime rate? What would that do to the people as far as being good to each other and following the golden rule? Huh? It would change. It would change everything, because nobody would ever try to do anything illegal anymore, because they know they can't get away with anything, because everything everybody does is part of the truth of the universe. And now that we got this machine that can zero in on different times and places and truths of the universe and reveal it, that means you can't conceal anything anymore. You can't get away with it anymore. So you shouldn't try to do anything bad anymore. And everybody should start following the golden rule. All right. Now, the question is, is it possible or not to invent the truth machine? And I don't know if you follow science or latest technology or not, but yeah, it is possible. It's theoretically possible, and the way our technology is advancing, it is possible. And that means that let's say you knew it was going to be invented like next week. That means right now you're gonna start following the golden rule right now, right? You're gonna start being good to everybody right now if you knew it's going to be invented next week. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be invented next week, but let's say 10 years, you don't really know when it's going to be invented. But the idea that it might be invented right there, that idea alone should get people to start thinking about following the golden rule. I'm dead serious about this. Yeah, I sound crazy, but everything I'm saying is true. And if you do a little research on what I'm saying, there's a ring of truth to it, okay? It doesn't really follow mainstream science, really. But mainstream science is all fucked up, because let me just ask this one question. Something's flying around in this place. You've heard of quantum computing, right? Which is based upon the idea that there's computations occurring somewhere in the background between our actual movements of the universe, that there's some computations occurring, and that's how it's based. That's what it's based upon, right? That's basically saying, that proves right there it's an informational universe right there, okay? And if the universe is informational, it has to operate with some, like I said, it's probably based upon this very simple algorithm, which is naturally occurring. The reason I say simple is because Occam's razor says that, of all the infinite number of actually naturally occurring elements that are out there, there's actually an infinite number of them. If the one that would implement our universe would probably be one of the more simpler ones, right? One closer to the top of the list of algorithms that are all the algorithms that are in the universe, all the naturally occurring algorithms, like the Wolfram list of computation reduction or whatever. Rule 1. He's got the rules listed. Rule 1, Rule 2, Rule 30, Rule 40, all this crazy stuff, man. It's out there. These rules are out there, and one of them actually is our universe. I'm saying, actually, I can prove that it has to be that way. I don't want to get on a big tangent, but it has to be that way because it doesn't mean if our universe can be. Let me ask you this: it doesn't matter what your concept of our universe actually is right now. Whatever your concept of the universe actually is, can it be simulated on the? Can it be theoretically simulated? Theoretically means that if somehow you had the biggest computer, bigger than 20 universes, or and more powerful, where it could actually create a universe in like 1 second, or if you had something like that, then would it be possible to simulate our universe? Yes or no? The answer is yes. It would have to be. If you had infinite power and infinite resolution, you could go ahead and, even if it was a time space continuum, you could still go crazy with the resolution, make it so you actually is simulated. Yes, it could be done theoretically. Okay, so that means that it could be explained by an algorithm. It could be, regardless of what your concept of it actually is. If you have near infinite resolution, then you could actually get it done. Okay, and so the next question is, okay, that means there is an algorithm, and I'm saying that there already are an infinite number of algorithms. Okay, so if there already are an infinite number of algorithms out there, and there are, okay, Wolfram's got them listed, then is it possible that one of the naturally occurring algorithms can be the one that I just said? Is it possible to simulate our own universe? Did you follow what I just said there? There are an infinite number of naturally occurring algorithms already, okay? And there is an algorithm somewhere, whether you think it's possible or not, there actually is an algorithm out there that can simulate our universe. As obscure and crazy as that sounds, as big and as uncomputable as it would actually have to be, right? As far as us trying to run it within our universe, but I'm saying theoretically, okay? And so there already is one out there. And I'm saying is one of the ones that is naturally occurring, one of the infinite number of ones, could that be like the one that can theoretically simulate our universe? What's the answer to that? Yes or no? It has to be. If there's an infinite number of naturally occurring algorithms, one of them has to be the one that could theoretically simulate our universe, right? Right? Do you make that connection? If that's true, then why do we need our physical universe anyway? If there's already an algorithm that does it naturally, then why do we need physicality at all? Oh, because it's got to be, somebody has to execute it, right? I'm saying no. Nobody ever has to execute it. That's the title of this video. The title of this video is Auto-Instantiation of an Algorithm is Real. So that explains where the universe came from, everybody, right there. And if the universe is as such, then we can somehow in the future figure out what a simple algorithm is, and we can make this truth machine, and that would obviously be used in these court of law to go ahead and make everybody have accountability or force accountability upon everybody. And I'm saying it doesn't, we don't have to invent the machine to know that it couldn't be invented in the future, and that means we ought to have accountability right now. We can start being good to each other right now. We don't have to wait. That's my whole thing. That's what I call the truth machine again, okay? I was talking about another video, but I guess you don't have to watch it now because I've gone ahead and I've explained everything in the other video anyway, okay? This is just a little more complicated. This one explains more of the basis, because in the other video I was talking about, I just said that, I just said auto-instantiation from an algorithm. I just blurted that out as if people actually understood what I meant. And that's really important because, well, understanding that's explains where the universe actually came from. The fact that nobody actually had to run, there's nobody on another plane of existence. It explains where, because if there was somebody on another plane of existence, you might call it God or whatever, where'd they come from? I've got everything explained right here, okay? All right, that's it. It's the 14th of August, 2021. It's 1:44 in the morning. It's Marty from Livonia. And I hope everybody understands what I'm saying here is that you better start being good to each other, because in the near future, they're going to invent a machine that's going to show what you've done. And it's not, you don't have to die. You don't have to wait for God to judge you. You can just, it might be some in your own lifetime. And because that's possible, I think you guys ought to think about accountability, okay? Be good to one another right now.